Ben, June 1st, big day on the NFL calendar. The Hargrave and Allen contracts are officially off the books for the Minnesota Vikings. I think the Vikings were second in the league, only to the Dolphins in amount of space gained. They now have $13 million approximately, and they have Nolan Teasley introduced as their general manager. Uh, does he come in and spend the money? And I think maybe more importantly, if he does, where do you want to see that money spent?
Well, I do want to see him spend a little bit of money. It would be our first test to see who he likes, what type of player he likes, where he thinks we have a little bit of a hole, and maybe a little tweaking on our team. So, um, I would like to see him spend a little bit of that money, and I think I'd like to see it in the front, in the defensive front, at the edge. Um, I still think, we have some question marks at safety. We have some question marks at corner, but I really think that adding depth along the defensive front, especially outside, is probably the place I think that makes the most sense.
It's funny because I think a lot of the fan base probably has PTSD from the Hargrave and Allen contracts. And so the idea of adding a higher dollar veteran, older name, probably. But I think you need to remember it did work with Stephon Gilmore. I know he wasn't on the defensive line, but signing an older guy with a big brand type name isn't always a terrible decision. And there's some there's some pretty big names out there. You got Von Miller, who's 37, by the way. I'm out on the Von Miller thing, but I didn't realize he was 37. Jadeveon Clowney, who on the opposite side, I didn't realize was only 33. He's been doing the mercenary thing for so long. I expected him to be almost 40. He's 33, I think 8.5 sacks last year. AJ Espinosa, you have Cam Jordan, who I'm sneaky in on, Joey Bosa. Do any of these names do anything for you?
Well, my own personal bias is that I really liked Epinesa coming out of Iowa.
Okay.
He is your he's kind of your bigger utility, do everything, maybe not the bendiest guy around the edge, but he can play the run, he's strong. I mean, he's just not super flashy. He's just like your workhorse, I think, up there. Which I think that you could find a need for. My thought process is let's find somebody that can be a leader in this locker room, that can just kind of be one of those voices that is not a me guy, he's a team guy, and can just kind of help build this team, not just on defense, but just as a team leader. That's why I do look at, even though I know Von Miller is he's very old.
By the way, that number of sacks at 37, that's an old defensive end in the NFL. It's crazy.
I know it's crazy, but I look at it as maybe like a Terrence Newman situation where it's very sparse as far as his playing time, but he's going to be that voice in the locker room that you just have to listen to, just a voice of reason. The other guy, Cam Jordan. I mean, he has
Yes.
been the
Yes.
pros pro his whole career. Again, is he going to give you a lot of juice? Is he going to give you double digit sacks? No, he's not. But he's going to be
But
the
hold
voice that
on.
everybody listens to.
Hold on. The crazy thing about Cam, and I don't know what to make of it, after being a monster for a bunch of years, he had these 3, 4 down years in a row. And then last year at 35, he puts up 10.5 sacks. That's not nothing. And I think ideally, whoever this guy is, like, and I think you're right to put the attention here because if all of a sudden Dallas Turner goes down in week 2, you kind of go, oh, shit, you got a pretty good defense with a pretty
Yeah.
important spot that is lacking for a period of time. So you kind of want, you remember Everson Griffin's last productive year where he
hmm
wasn't the guy, but every time he came on the field, you're like, God damn, he wrecked that play. And I think, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I think Cam Jordan has that to him.
Yeah. So of the guys that you mentioned, I'd probably put Cam number one, and then plus, his pops played for the Vikes, so it'd be kind of a cool feel good story where
All the old Minnesota guys will love that. I have to listen to my dad and his friends tell me why that's neat.
It is neat,
It's
and it would
very
be
neat.
fun. I mean, I think even for I would consider myself a younger head and not an older head. I would think that's kind of a fun full story moment.
You're just a
Um,
big head.
I am well, truth be told, I have a little teeny tiny head. I have a peanut head. Every time
Do
that
you think
I'm
it's just
on
because you have too big of a body?
No, I don't know what it is. Like I just hats fit me weird. Like if I put on a ball cap, like
You're too
my
handsome to let any of us listen to you
my
complain about your
ears are
looks.
like too high or something. Like
Go
I
back to
put the
Cam
cap
Jordan.
on and it's just, you
Nobody
know,
wants to listen to the handsome former pro player complain about his tiny head. Tell us about Cam Jordan.
I can tell you about all sorts of problems. Cam Jordan, I think that would be a great story. I think that he could give you the leadership that you want. I'm going to give you two names. Two
Okay.
names that I think that would cost you significantly less money that I've had. One, I've had a little bit of a crush on since he was at Penn State. The other guy is a guy that I think he surprises every year. The he's the model for consistency. So let me start with maybe start with the guy that I like from Penn State, Yetur Gross-Matos. All right, played for
Ooh.
the Niners last year. You could probably get him for I don't know 3-4 million bucks. It's not going to cost you much. He is, I think, one of these guys that's still fairly young. He's just in his late 20s. He's 6'5", 265. He To me, he fits the prototype of what you're looking at. And again, I don't know what Teasley thinks of this guy, but he's had a chance to look at him when he was at the Niners and all that stuff and kind of extra scouted him. So he's a guy for value that I would look at as like he could come in, maybe not the best pass rusher, but kind of in that world of Epinesa where he's a young, big body guy, not going to cost you a lot, could give you a little bit of juice in both the pass game and the run game. Um, the second guy. Now, this one I know that you're just going to say, "Oh yeah, this guy's been a stud his whole career." Kyle Van Noy. I'm,
Mhm.
I mean, this all this guy ever does is just like wreck games. I mean, if there's a big moment in a big time game late in the game, Kyle Van Noy just somehow makes the play or is a big factor in the play. 2 years ago, dude, he
Yeah.
had 12 and a half sacks. Last year, not so much. Only two sacks last year. But who knows what went into that? Again, another guy, he's a way older veteran. I mean, he's well into his
30,
30s.
35, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. But for again a few million bucks, you don't have to spend all 13 million that we have in surplus. You spend a few million bucks and you get a guy that's played in big time games for some big time organizations and all he does is make plays. I really like the idea of Kyle Van Noy.
Yeah. I think I could be sold on that pretty easily. Let me let me leave the guy who's smart about football world, and why don't you come enter my insane fan world? And let
Sure.
me tell you, let me put one pipe dream on the table. Aaron Brewer is looking for a new contract in Miami.
Mm.
He's the center, 28 years old. Last year was his
Mm.
first year as an all pro. Can you make a push and make you want to make a splash? You want to make a splash trade? Does a mid-round pick and a new obviously with what happened with the Linderbaum deal, he's out here going like I deserve more and I should get more. And I don't think he's going to get the Linderbaum deal, but I think he's going to get bumped up further from a top 10 center money to a top 5 center money.
Mhm.
How long has it been since we have had the center position on this team be something that we do not need to think about? And when you talk about changing the complexion of an entire roster, one home run on the offensive line can do that about as well as any position outside the quarterback position. I mean, I always think about do you think back when we got Hutch, back when we traded for Hutch, the poison pill, all this, do you think anybody truly understood how much of a catalyst that was going to be for the progress that led us to having that '09 team and that sort of competitive? I know there were all the other pieces, but he was enormous in that way.
Yeah, he that's a really good point. And the thing is, my time with Hutch, what he did, I think more than anything outside of just his Hall of Fame physicality and his style of play. Dude, he brought a level of grittiness and
Mhm.
expectation to that whole offense. I mean, he elevated the play of everybody in that offensive line. I mean, you
Yeah.
look at Bryant McKinney to the left of him. I mean,
Yeah.
Bryant will find he will find kind of every opportunity, I think, to just kind of be in chill mode a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, and when you've got Steve Hutchinson, who just will just give you a side eye look, and you're like, oh shit, I better like straighten up a little bit, right? When you have that guy next to you the whole time playing the way he plays, it absolutely made Bryant McKinney a better player. So I can say that across the board on the offensive line, and I can say that really across the board on the whole offense. So, um, yeah, one guy and one guy's mentality absolutely can kind of change just the chemistry of the whole offense.
And I know they like Brandell. This isn't a shot at Brandell, but I'm saying like that's a level of skill and stability at a position that we haven't had it going back to Burke. And
Mhm.
so I think you're right. I think edge is where the money should be. And I love the Van Noy, but like that's my go get Aaron Brewer is my crazy,
But you're going to
unrealistic.
have to trade for him.
Yeah. Yeah, but you'd have to trade for him, and then you'd need the money to absorb his contract. So I cheated instead of just doing the free agencies. Because here's the thing, you could also, with the money, you could also extend. You got Brian O'Neill, you have Jordan Addison, you have Andrew Van Ginkel. They're all in the place that you could maybe extend one or all of those guys, or you could just sit on the money. They did all this work to get, you know, back in a good financial position with removing Hargrave and Allen, trading Jonathan Grenard. Maybe you sit on it and you're building for something bigger. So there's a ton of options. But I just wanted to throw the insane pipe dream in the mix.
Yeah, well, I like how you threw me an absolute curveball. Hey, Ben, let's talk about free agents. Oh, by the way, I didn't throw out the option that you can trade for people.
I need an unfair advantage. I need an unfair advantage in all the discussions.